What's up, Wrestle Scope Nation? Before we get into this absolute bombshell that just dropped on SmackDown, let me ask you something. When was the last time WWE kept you on the edge of your seat for weeks only to pull off a reveal so perfect that it changed everything? Well, buckle up, because what happened on Friday night didn't just break the internet, it shattered it into a million pieces. And I'm about to tell you why Triple H might have just orchestrated the most genius move of his entire regime as Chief Content Officer. Here's what nobody is talking about, and it's making my blood boil. For months, and I mean months, we've been watching Bron Breakker tear through the WWE roster like an absolute beast. The man has been unstoppable. Intercontinental Champion, dominant, ruthless, a literal wrecking ball in human form. But there's been one thing lurking in the shadows, one mystery that WWE has been teasing us with, like dangling a steak in front of a starving dog. The mystery man. The hooded figure. The silhouette in the background. The person who's been watching Braun's every move with the kind of intensity that makes your skin crawl. And you know what the worst part is? Half the wrestling experts online were saying it was going to be a letdown. They were convinced WWE would botch this reveal like they've botched so many others. Well, let me tell you something right now. Those people were dead wrong. And if you think you know who it is just from reading the dirt sheets, you have no idea what actually went down on SmackDown. Because this wasn't just a reveal. This was a declaration of war. And when Roman Reigns caught wind of Drew McIntyre joining The Vision, oh man, the Tribal Chief's reaction is something you need to hear about. Let me take you back for a second, because context is everything here. Bron Breakker has been on an absolute tear since moving to the main roster. This isn't hyperbole, this is facts. The man ended Sami Zayn's Intercontinental Championship reign, he steamrolled through legends, and he's done it all with the kind of confidence that makes you believe he's the next big thing. Because he is. But here's where it gets interesting. About 6 weeks ago, we started seeing these vignettes. Dark, mysterious clips of someone watching Braun's matches. A figure in the shadows. A presence that felt familiar, yet unknown. The camera work was deliberately obscure. We'd see a hand, a build, maybe a glimpse of a tattoo. WWE was playing this perfectly, dropping breadcrumbs like Hansel and Gretel, knowing full well that the wrestling community was going to lose their minds trying to figure out who this was. The speculation was insane. Was it Gunther coming for revenge? Was it an NXT call-up looking to make an impact? Some people were even saying it could be Brock Lesnar returning to pass the torch to his spiritual successor. The theories were everywhere, and WWE was eating it up, letting the anticipation build to a peach fever. Then came SmackDown, December 6th, 2024, a date that will go down in WWE history. Bron Breakker opened the show, as he should, because when you're the Intercontinental Champion and you're on the kind of role he's in, you demand that spotlight. He cut a promo that was pure, unfiltered aggression, talking about how he's the most dominant force in the WWE, how nobody can touch him, how the Intercontinental Championship isn't just a title anymore, it's a statement. And that's when the lights went out. When those lights came back on, the arena was electric. You could feel the tension through the screen. The crowd was on their feet, phones out, ready to capture history. The mystery man stood at the top of the ramp, hood up, motionless. And for about 10 seconds, which felt like an eternity, nobody moved. It was like the entire WWE universe was holding its breath at the same time. Then he pulled back the hood. And I'm not exaggerating when I say the roof nearly came off the arena. It was Rick Steiner. Wait, I can hear you screaming at your screens right now. Rick Steiner? Are you serious? That's the big reveal? Hold on, let me finish. It wasn't just Rick Steiner standing there. This wasn't some nostalgia act or a cheap pop for the older fans. This was Rick Steiner 2.0, a version of the dog-faced gremlin we've never seen before. Leaner, meaner, with an edge in his eyes that said he wasn't here for a reunion or a handshake. He grabbed a microphone, and what he said next sent shock waves through the entire wrestling world. Braun, you think carrying that title makes you a Steiner. You think being my nephew gives you the right to call yourself the most dominant force in this company. But you've been living off a name, a legacy that you didn't build, a legacy that I built, that your father built, and you've been treating it like it's just another prop in your little highlight reel. The crowd was losing it. Some were chanting Steiner, others were chanting holy crap. And Braun looked like he'd seen a ghost. Rick continued, I've been watching you from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to remind you what it really means to be a Steiner. It's not about muscles, it's not about wins, it's about respect, something you've forgotten. So at WrestleMania, I'm coming for that title, and I'm coming for you. The stare down that followed was intense. Uncle versus nephew, legacy versus future. The torch being challenged before it's even been fully passed. But wait, because if you thought that was the only bombshell of the night, you clearly haven't been paying attention to how Triple H booked SmackDown. Later in the evening, we got another seismic shift in the WWE landscape. Drew McIntyre, the Scottish Warrior himself, officially joined the Vision, the faction that's been quietly building power behind the scenes with the Creed brothers and Julius Creed. Now, some of you might be thinking, okay, so what? Drew joins a faction. We've seen this before. But here's why this matters. The Vision isn't just another random stable. This is a group with purpose. They're not about flashy entrances or matching gear. They're about dominance through precision and brutality. And adding Drew McIntyre, a former WWE champion, a man who's literally fought his way through every obstacle this company has thrown at him, that's not just addition, that's multiplication of threat level. Drew cut a promo that was short, direct, and absolutely chilling. I've spent years fighting for respect, fighting for opportunities, fighting for my moment. The Vision gets it. They understand that in WWE, you either control your destiny or someone else controls it for you. And I'm done letting others write my story. The implications are massive. The Vision now has the Creed brothers, technical savant and former amateur wrestling champions, Julius Creed, power and intensity personified, and Drew McIntyre, a proven main eventer with championship pedigree. They're essentially building an army designed to take over SmackDown from the inside out. But here's where it gets really interesting. Backstage, cameras caught up with Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, the man who's been at the top of WWE for years. And when asked about Drew joining the Vision, Roman's reaction was unnerving. He didn't yell, he didn't threaten, he just smiled that knowing smile and said, Drew thinks joining the Vision makes him dangerous. Drew thinks he found the answer. That's cute, but there's only one table in WWE, and everyone eventually acknowledges me. The Vision will learn, Drew will learn, they all learn. That quiet confidence, that's dangerous, Roman. That's the Roman who dismantled the Shield, who conquered Brock Lesnar, who made John Cena acknowledge him. When Roman gets quiet like that, bodies start dropping. All right, let's talk about what all of this means for the WWE landscape moving forward, because these aren't just isolated incidents. This is Triple H playing 4D chess with his roster. First, the Bron Breakker and Rick Steiner situation. This is brilliance in storytelling. You've got a young champion who's been seemingly unstoppable, suddenly facing his greatest challenge yet. Not just a competitor, but family. The psychology here is layered like an onion. Braun has been cocky, dominant, almost arrogant in his presentation, and rightfully so, he's been backing it up. But Rick Steiner calling him out for riding on the family name, that cuts deep. That's the kind of personal motivation that creates instant investment. Think about it. Can Braun prove he's worthy of the Steiner name by beating the man who built that name? Or will Rick Steiner, a man who has nothing left to prove, reclaim glory one more time by taking down his own nephew? Either way, this story writes itself, and the emotional stakes are through the roof. WrestleMania just became must-see television. That Intercontinental Championship match isn't just about a title. It's about pride, legacy, and family honor. The kind of story that transcends wrestling and becomes about human emotion. Now, the Vision and Drew McIntyre joining them, this is where things get complicated in the best way possible.
WWE has been building to something big on SmackDown. You can feel it. The Bloodline storyline has dominated for so long that the landscape needed new power players, new factions, new threats. The Vision represents order. They represent control, and they're the antithesis of chaos. And adding Drew McIntyre, a man who's been screwed over, overlooked, and underutilized despite being one of the most talented performers in the company, that makes perfect sense when you look at his character arc. The man has been screwed over, overlooked, and underutilized. Despite being one of the most talented performers in the company, the Vision gives him that platform. But here's the million-dollar question. Is the Vision gunning for the Bloodline? Are they targeting Roman Reigns? Because if they are, we might be heading toward the biggest faction war WWE has seen in years. Imagine it. The Bloodline, Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and the Usos when they return, that's money. That's WrestleMania-level storytelling.
That's the kind of long-term booking that makes WWE appointment viewing every single week. And Roman's reaction? That wasn't dismissive. That was calculated. Roman knows what's coming. He's been in the game long enough to recognize when a real threat is forming. His acknowledgement of the Vision means he's already planning his countermove. The tribal chief doesn't take threats lightly, but he also doesn't panic. He strategizes, and that makes the next few months unmissable. Can we just take a moment to appreciate what Triple H is doing with WWE right now? Because whether you love him or hate him as an on-screen character, you cannot deny the man's booking acumen. This is long-term storytelling. This is planting seeds and letting them grow. This is trusting your audience to be intelligent enough to follow complex narratives without hand-holding. The Mystery Man angle with Bron Breakker, that was old-school wrestling booking. Create intrigue, build anticipation, deliver a payoff that makes sense but still surprises people. Rick Steiner wasn't the most obvious choice, which is exactly why it works. It's not predictable, but it's also not random. It's perfect. And the Vision? Triple H is creating layers to his roster. Not everyone needs to be in the world title picture immediately. Not every storyline needs to revolve around one person. He's building multiple compelling narratives that can intersect, collide, and create organic drama. This is how you keep a 3-hour show or a 2-hour show feeling fresh every single week. You give people multiple reasons to tune in. Some people are invested in Braun versus Rick. Others are hooked on the Vision's rise. Some are still following the Bloodline saga. And all of these stories can coexist, breathe, and eventually impact each other. WWE hasn't felt this alive in years. And I know some of you are going to say, but what about the Attitude Era? What about the Ruthless Aggression Era? Those were incredible times in wrestling. But this feels different. This feels like a company that's confident in its vision, trusting its performers, and respecting its audience. That's the Triple H difference. And let's talk about the talent for a second. Bron Breakker is a star. At just 26 years old, this man has the entire package. The look, the intensity, the in-ring ability. The promo skills are getting better every week. Putting him in a program with Rick Steiner elevates him even more because now he's not just beating random opponents, he's overcoming family legacy. Drew McIntyre? The man is finally getting the respect he deserves. After being sent home during the pandemic, after being overlooked post-championship reign, after being stuck in mid-card purgatory, he's now in a position to be a major player again. The Vision gives him that platform. This is smart booking. This is how you build stars while maintaining your established ones. So let me bring this all home for you, Wrestle Scope Nation. Friday Night SmackDown didn't just give us one major angle, it gave us two major shifts that are going to define the next several months of WWE programming. Bron Breakker now has to face his uncle Rick Steiner in what promises to be a brutal family affair at Royal Rumble. And the Vision, now armed with Drew McIntyre, is positioning itself as the next major threat in WWE, potentially even to the Bloodline itself. Roman is watching, the locker room is watching, and most importantly, we are watching. This is the kind of wrestling that reminds us why we fell in love with this crazy, beautiful, dramatic art form in the first place. It's not just about moves and matches, it's about stories. It's about emotion. It's about making us care what happens next. And let me tell you something, I haven't been this excited about WWE's trajectory in a long time. Now, here's what I need from you.
If you're as hyped about these storylines as I am, smash that like button right now, and I mean smash it. Show WWE that we appreciate good storytelling when we see it. Drop a comment below and tell me, do you think Bron Breakker can defeat his uncle Rick Steiner at Royal Rumble, or is the veteran going to show the young pup that experience beats athleticism? And more importantly, is the vision coming for the bloodline? Is Drew McIntyre about to get his ultimate revenge on Roman Reigns? I want to hear your predictions, your theories, your hot takes. And if you're not already subscribed to Wrestle Scope, what are you even doing? Hit that subscribe button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a breakdown, analysis, or reaction to the biggest moments in WWE. We're building something special here, and I want you to be part of this community. Share this video with your wrestling friends. Send it to that one person who stopped watching WWE and needs to know why they should come back. Wrestling is fun again, and we need to celebrate that. This is Wrestle Scope reminding you that in WWE, anything can happen. And based on what we saw on SmackDown, we're just getting started. I'll see you in the next one. Stay hyped, stay passionate, and keep watching wrestling.